Shana Tova. My name is Dalia Marx. I'm the Rabbi Aaron Pankin Professor of Liturgy and Midrash here in this beautiful campus of Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion in Jerusalem. I am in this campus that Rabbi Aaron loved so much and knew so well, and I want to dedicate this study session to his beloved memory of our dear Aaron, Zichro Livracha. Just a few minutes ago, I met Salim Yagmur, who is the maintenance director of our campus here. I told him what we're going to do here, and tears came to his eyes. And he told me some beautiful stories about Aaron, Zichro Livracha. One of the stories he told me is that when his sister passed away, Aaron called him from New York to comfort him. And another thing was that now we have ulpan, Hebrew classes for Hebrew, mostly for Palestinian students. And he saw that some of them seek for different corners in the campus where they can pray. And when Aaron heard it, he said that we need a place where people can pray, in a nice place where people can pray. And he initiated this house of prayer that is meant for Muslims and Jews and Christians. And this is a beautiful place that we dedicated to his memory. Last year, Lisa, his beloved wife, came here and we inaugurated this place. So today I want to talk about Jewish cloning. Not genetic cloning, Jewish cloning, liturgical cloning. I want to talk with you, I want to share a few thoughts with you about the evolvement, the development of the concept of Yamim Noraim, days of awe, penitential liturgy within the Jewish tradition. And I want to talk with you about 7 different stages, 7 different phases. Let us begin. Phase 1. We read in the Torah about 2 separate and maybe unrelated days. What we call today Rosh Hashanah, the name Rosh Hashanah, the New Year day, does not appear in the Torah, and Yom Kippurim, the Day of Atonement. So, for example, I look in Leviticus 23, and it tells us that on Rosh Hashanah you have 3 requirements that you find in any festival and holiday. 1, it is a Shabbaton. It's a day of solemn rest. There is a prohibition of work on that day. 2, you have to bring a designated offering. And 3, it is Mikra Kodesh, holy convocations. We don't really know what it means. There are different commentaries, but this is not what we're here to talk about. So what is special about this day? The Torah tells us that this is a day of blowing the shofar, Zichron Truah, a memorial proclaimed with the blast of horns. Doesn't even say shofar. So this is probably the origin of the blowing of the shofar. But what is the spiritual nature of this day? What is the holy aspects of it? The Torah does not tell us anything. And the same with Yom Kippurim. There, the Torah tells us a little bit more. Again, you have the 3 aspects. You have prohibition of work, and here it's not just Shabbaton, it's Shabbat Shabbaton. It's a Sabbath of all Sabbath. It's an extremely holy day. You have special offerings, and you have Mikra Kodesh that we translated as holy convocations. But here it also say, you shall afflict your souls on that day. So we understand that this is a day of affliction, but we don't really know what it means. As you know, the Jewish tradition understood this affliction of the soul as a day of fasting. So in Leviticus 16, we see a set of rituals that Aaron, the priest, the high priest, enacted in the tabernacle in order to purify it after it was impured after the death of his 2 sons. And then the Torah says, this is something that you have to do every year from now on. But it was a one-man show. The people were not present there at the tabernacle with Aaron. And he atoned for the people. What were the people doing? They were outside fasting, but we don't hear about prayers, we don't hear about confessions. There is no sign of any penitential liturgy or rituals in the Torah. That's phase 1. Phase 2. Now Rosh Hashanah, the New Year day, acquires the atmosphere and the sense and the rhythm of atonement, of penitential liturgy, of forgiveness. And we see it in the Mishnah. In Tractate Rosh Hashanah, the first chapter, second paragraph of Tractate Rosh Hashanah, we read, "Be'arba'a prakim ha'olam nidon." At 4 set or designated time, the entire world is judged. So we see that on Pesach, we are judged regarding the produce. On Shavuot, respect of the fruit of the tree. On Sukkot, we are judged in respect of rain. And on Rosh Hashanah, כל באי עולם עוברים לפניו כבני מרום. All the inhabitants of the world pass before God like בני מרון. It's a big question. What is this בני מרון? Is it a division of soldiers? That's one interpretation. Or is it a flock of sheep? But anyway, we are all judged on that day, on Rosh Hashanah. And maybe you can hear the origins of our piyut unetane tokef. V'chol ba'ei olam ya'avru lefanecha kibnei maron. All the inhabitants of the world shall pass before God. So Rosh Hashanah acquires the sense of judgment and penitential meaning. Now we have 2 days that have this meaning. Not only Yom Kippur, but also Rosh Hashanah. Phase 3. Now we talk about the sequence. We don't talk about 2 separate days, Rosh Hashanah, the New Year Day, and Yom Kippurim, that Day of Atonement. Now we talk about the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, the 10 days of atonement, the 10 days of repentance, Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Now remember, we started with 1 day, we continued with 2 days. Now we have 10 days, the sequence of repentance, and in the middle we have a special Shabbat. It's called Shabbat Tshuva, Shabbat of repentance, that have special prophetic readings, and special sermon is carried out on that day. So this is phase 3. Phase 4 refers to, I think those of you who run a marathon will understand it very, very well. I don't, by the way. You know, you can't wake up one day and decide you want to run a marathon. You need some preparation, you need some training. And the same with the Days of Atonement. You can't just wake up one day and enter this process without any preparation. This is why our tradition gives us a preparation time, preparation phase. So we don't start on the first day of Tishrei. We don't start on Rosh Hashanah, the New Year Day. We start 30 days before. We start at the beginning of the previous month, the month of Elul. So from the beginning of the month of Elul, we start to see in the synagogues the atmosphere of the penitential liturgy, of the soul searching, of the confession atmosphere. So in the Sephardic world, people wake up in the middle of the night and they start with the selichot, the penitential prayers. We have a special psalm that we read, that we recite on these days. It's Psalm 27. We blow the shofar every morning in our services. So we have 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, and it takes us all the way to Yom Kippur. So from 1 day, then 2 days, then 10 days, now we have 40 days. And you know, these 40 days have very interesting religious meaning, because according to the Midrashic tradition, Moses went back to the Sinai mountain for the second time after he broke the first set of the tablets, because the people were worshiping the golden calf. And then he went back to the Mount Sinai to receive the second set of tablets. That happened at the beginning of the month of Elul. All these 40 days and 40 nights that Moses spent on the Sinai mountain, not eating, not drinking, just being in the process of creating and receiving the second set of tablets, from God, we accompany him here on earth with our penitential liturgies and rituals. So in a way, all the way from the beginning of Elul, all the way to Yom Kippur, we are like the Israelites back in the day. Will he receive the second tablets? Will he come back to us? This is a time of a lot of doubts and questions and religious unease. Our religious hormones, if you will, start to rage, and they peak on Yom Kippur. But we begin on Rosh Chodesh Elul. That's phase 4. Phase 5. Just as we acknowledge that we need some time to prepare for Yom Kippurim, we also understand that we cannot just terminate it on the day itself. We need some cool-down zone, as my gym instructor calls it. So just at the end of Yom Kippurim, what is the most prominent metaphor that we have? It's the metaphor of the gate. And we have this beautiful piyut, beautiful liturgical hymn saying, Ptach lanu sha'ar be'et ne'ilat sha'ar. Open us a gate at times of the closing of the gates. So we need more time, yeah? We say to the professor, my students tell me, we need more time before we can submit the paper or the exam or what have you. We need more time. So according to Kabbalistic tradition, that is a much later tradition, we have a prolonged process of the Days of Atonement. So we are not just inscribed in the Book of Life on Rosh Hashanah and sealed on Yom Kippur, we actually really sealed at the last day of Sukkot, which is called Hoshana Rabbah. And in the Kabbalistic tradition, this day is called Yom HaChotam, the day of seal. So it's not Yom Kippurim that the process ends. We have almost 2 more weeks to conclude our process of atonement, of cheshbon nefesh, of self-reckoning, etc. So it takes us all the way toward the end of Sukkot. So this is a much prolonged process now. If that's not enough, we have phase 6. Now we leave the corner of the year cycle that we dealt with. Well, how can a cycle have a corner? But anyway, we move to talk about the entire Jewish year, and we have Yom Kippur Katan, minor Yom Kippur. The minor Yom Kippur is the day before the new month, before the appearance of the new moon, before Rosh Chodesh. In every month, except for Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is a special day. Rosh Chodesh, the new month, happens on Shabbat. There is a Kabbalistic and Hasidic tradition to fast on the day before the new month begins. And there are special prayers and special penitential slichot that are recited on that day. So now we see it's not only on Yom Kippur before and after. Now the penitential environment, the penitential liturgy, the atonement rituals appear throughout the entire year. That's phase 6. Phase 7, and maybe the last one. Now we're not just talking about the cycle of the Days of Atonement. We're not even talking about special days that are designated by the new moon. Now we're talking about basically every day. Because in the traditional liturgy, we have every Monday and Thursday special penitential vidui, confession paragraphs in the prayer. For our Reform ancestors, that wasn't the favorite part of the liturgy, and it was omitted in most of the Reform Sidurim. They came from what our teacher, Dr. Larry Hoffman, calls anthropology of empowerment, not so much self-abasement. Not so much we are sinful, we have done wrong. Today, I think many Reformed Jews sort of discover the meaning and the efficacy of these kind of liturgies. That sometimes we need to sort of go back to ourselves, sort of be in the low place, and from that place talk to God and talk to our congregation and to our community and to our own souls. So in the traditional liturgy, we have every Monday and Thursday penitential paragraphs, but in fact we have it every day. If you open the Siddur, you will see that every day in the Amidah, in the 18th benediction, we see Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechal lanu malkenu ki pashanu. Forgive us our parent because we have sinned, pardon us our sovereign because we have transgressed. This is in every daily liturgy. So you can see how from a liturgy of one day, the Day of Atonement, sort of increased throughout the year cycle, and it became something that the Jews do every day. Jacob Pedachovsky, our teacher of blessed memory, taught us once, Jews are reluctant to conclude their prayer. If something works for you, do it again and again and again. If something deems efficacious, repeat it again and again and again. And this is exactly what happened with the liturgy of repentance, with the penitential liturgy, with the confession, with the self-reckoning. Now my question to you, is it good or bad? Is it good that we repeat it again and again and again? because it's so important? Or on the other hand, because it is precisely because it is so important, we have to reserve it to one day? I guess the answer has to do with you and your religious temperament. I think the answer would be both are true. We have to keep the channel running throughout the year when we want to go inside and look inside our souls and cleanse our souls, and we have to do it every day, but we also have to designate a special day for it, the Day of Atonement. So that was our journey in the 7 phases, 7 stages of the evolvement of the Penitential Liturgy and Days of Atonement in the Jewish tradition. But you know, friends, I think this year we may want to add another phase, phase 8. This year we're going to celebrate, or we are celebrating, the high holidays in a completely different way than we ever imagined we would. It is a time that requires of us to find new meanings and new ways of celebrating our Jewish spirituality and holiness and experience Kehillah in different ways that we have no experience doing. So I hope that we will manage to meet this task. Times of limitations and restrictions and all kinds of confinement are normally times of great creativity. So I want to wish you all, you and yours, from all of us here in the Jerusalem campus, Shana Tova Umevorechet. Happy New Jewish Year.